If we would all open our books, the Bibles, that is. That's the ones with the purple covers. Don't worry, they don't bite. To Genesis chapter 3. It's on page 5. We'll read about the fall of man. And in creation, we were created with 4 relationships of harmony. We were created with harmony with God, harmony with ourselves, harmony with others, and harmony with nature. And we'll see here how those relationships are damaged by sin. If we go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 7. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made loincloths for themselves. They realized that they were naked. This realization didn't come from the wisdom they gained from eating the fruit. This realization of nakedness instead came from shame. Part of their body did something in discord with the other part. The relationship with self was damaged. If we continue on to Genesis chapter 3, verse 8, we then read that when they heard the sound of the Lord God moving about in the garden at the breezy time of the day, the man and his wife hid themselves from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. So when they experienced this shame, they no longer wanted that intimate relationship with God, of love and of trust. It's interesting to note that God here is still moving about the garden looking for them. Where have they gone? God still wants that relationship. But Adam and Eve, through their sin, removed themselves from that relationship with God. And if we skip down to Genesis chapter 3, verse 17, we find, to man he said, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree of which I had forbidden you to eat. Cursed be the ground because of you. In toil you eat its yield all the days of your life. So it was not only man who fell, but nature as well. Sin affected the whole world, nature included. And it's damaged that relationship between us and nature. But not everything was damaged. If we go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 20, we find that man still retained some of his fruitfulness. Because the man called his wife Eve because she became the mother of all the living. So man was still fruitful and multiplied. But as man multiplied, so too did our sinfulness. And that sinful nature was passed down from generation to generation. And when sinful men interact with one another, that relationship becomes damaged as well. If we go to chapter 4, verse 8, Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let us go out into the field." When they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. And here's the worst possible ending of a relationship between others: when one kills another. And it's an example for us of how that relationship with others is damaged and is broken. But let us not think that this sin damaged these relationships only once. That Adam's sin did all this, and he's the one to blame. This sin Our sin damages these relationships as well every time we sin. This is why no sin is private, because every time we sin, it affects our relationship with others. Every time we sin, it affects our relationship with nature. Every time we sin, it affects our relationship with ourselves and with God. So sin damages all these relationships. That sounds like pretty bad news to me. But there's good news as well. And that good news is Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ is transformative. He's transformative in our lives. He's transformative in His Word. The gospel reading today from Matthew is all about how Jesus Christ transformed men. He gave blind sight to see. He gives us transformation as well. Christ gave us the Eucharist so that we can partake of that and help restore our relationship with God. Jesus Christ became man for us so that we can each have that personal relationship with God. And Jesus Christ transforms our relationship with self as well. He gave us confession so that we can better form our consciences. And hopefully, in better forming our consciences, we start to act in one accord with that conscience. And by acting in one accord with that conscience, by acting in accord with Christ, we begin to live a life of theosis, a life of sanctification, of redeeming our relationship with self and with God. But it doesn't end there. God also gave us church. He gave us community so that we can come and live in harmony with one another in God's house. And the church gives us social teachings as well, so that we can live in harmony with others in the world. The church throughout the year also blesses many different things. Like Father mentioned, we bless water at Theophany. We bless fruit at the Transfiguration feast. And every time at Latia, we bless the wheat, the wine, and the oil. These are the fruits of the earth and water that gives life. And through these blessings and through sanctified lives, we also try to transform the entire world we live in, the cosmos. So God is the source. Jesus Christ is the source of all this transformation. He also gives us patient endurance in order that we can be transformed and go through that process with Him. I myself am fairly familiar with transformation because I'm in the process of formation. 4 years in seminary seemed like a really long time when I entered. But now I'm halfway through. It's amazing how fast it's gone by. And I've been able to see others grow and change while I've been at that seminary. And that's an amazing experience. I think oftentimes we never see how we ourselves are transformed and changed because it's a slow process. Because God transforms and changes us every day, bit by bit. One of the most amazing transformative experiences I've witnessed is the ordination of a new priest. Every priest I've spoken to has told me that on the day of his ordination, after the laying on of that hands, he feels like he has become a new man. And that's the point of transformation, to become new men. It was Adam, the old man, who had sinned. And our sin also breaks these relationships of peace and harmony. But it's Jesus Christ, the new Adam, who allows us transformation back into relationship, back into peace and harmony. So I ask you to encourage one another in this process of transformation, because it's hard. It's not easy to be transformed. We're built up one piece at a time, but we have to give up those disordered passions that are the result of sin. So encourage one another here to build up those relationships and accept one another as Jesus Christ has accepted you. Glory to Jesus Christ.